好，歡迎各位。
Members, welcome. May I first wish you good health and every success in the new year. I declare that we have a quorum, and I call to order a Zoom meeting of the panel on information technology and broadcasting. May I remind members that we are having a virtual meeting and we have got a virtual background. So remember to turn on the video function of Zoom and show your face. And during your participation in the meeting, please use the respective virtual background, i.e. for EC members, your virtual background is orange. Members returned from FC's, green background. Members returned from GC's, purple background, so that we can be all clear. Information paper issued since the last meeting. The Secretariat told us that no information paper has been issued, no follow-up. Item 2, list date of next meeting and outstanding matters for items for discussion. The next meeting is scheduled for the 14th of March, a Monday at 2:30 p.m. is going to be a Zoom meeting unless otherwise notified. And then so far, the administration has not got any suggestions for items for discussion. The Secretary will follow up with the administration afterwards. If there are no other issues, then we move on to the third agenda item. But before we do so, now for orderly and fair arrangement of speaking arrangement for members, can I invite the staff to clear the raise hand function of members? All right, and then I invite you to press the raise hand function again for the speaking order. All right, when the administration is ready, I will first invite Mr. Alfred Sit, Secretary for Innovation and Technology, to brief us on the policy address, and then the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Mr. Edward Yao, will also say a few words. We will have until 4:30 for this item, and each member will have 4 minutes for questions and answers each. Mr. Sit. Thank you, Chair. I'm very happy to meet with members in this new term of ITB panel to brief members on the major policy issues for INT in the CE's 2021 policy address. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a very successful and healthy new year. The current term government has unprecedentedly invested over $130 billion to promote INT development and smart city development in Hong Kong. And I think we are beginning to bear fruits, and our development has been internationally acclaimed. For instance, Hong Kong has been ranked first in Asia and second worldwide and first worldwide in terms of technology in the 2021 World Digital Competitiveness Ranking. And Hong Kong is among the places with the highest Wi-Fi hotspot coverage, and our broadband and our wireless network are very comprehensive. That means that we are moving towards the right direction. The policy address 2021 has raised a number of INT measures. The government is going to press ahead in full steam with a new mindset in developing INT so that we can make good use of the golden opportunities brought about by our own strengths and also the 15th five-year plan and the GBA. And there are three main foci. First, providing land and infrastructure, promoting R&D to develop talent and to support startups in GBA. Now, for providing land and infrastructure, the policy address has set aside a few pieces of land for further development, including the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation Technology Park, and areas around Lok Ma Chau Santin will be consolidated to form the Santin Technopole. And second, the Ma Liu Shui Reclamation Project will be revived, and the Sha Tin sewage treatment works site will be vacated, and there is also land reserve for Hong Kong and Siu for R&D purposes. Now, for R&D facilities, the 14th five-year plan focuses on life and health disciplines, and Hong Kong should meet countries' needs by setting up an InnoLife Health Tech Hub in Hong Kong Shenzhen INT Park, and the HA and HK STPC will explore the use of HA's clinical data for R&D purposes to support the development of life and health technology. And we will also support startups. We will further explore the expansion of the immigration arrangement for non-local graduates to cover graduates of Hong Kong University's GBA to build up our own R&D talent. We have very outstanding startups as well as R&D talent, and GBA is a golden opportunity for them to develop their potential. The policy address greatly supports our local talents and enterprises to take the foothold in GBA, and Hong Kong's STPC will set up the GBA Academy to serve as a resource center, training hub, and exchange platform for talent, and also will set up the GBA Inno Express to nurture startups and assist mainland enterprises to go global through Hong Kong. Both are expected to commence operation in the middle of this year. And the HK STPC will work with universities with GBA campuses to establish incubator networks to further the pool of INT talent. The policy address has also proposed that the INT Bureau be renamed to Innovation Technology and Industry Branch to ensure that the Bureau will include reindustrialization as a plan, and to highlight the close relationship between INT and industrial development. And the policy address under the new era, the CE said that there will be a new paradigm and new future for Hong Kong. Myself and my team will continue to very closely with the council, with the academia and the industry, so that we can implement the various INT policies and measures under the HA, so that we can open up a new chapter for our INT development. And then I will also promote the Hong Kong Smart City Blueprint 2.0, so that everyone can enjoy the benefits and convenience brought about by smart city and INT. I pause here, and I'm very willing to listen to member suggestions. Myself and also the Commissioner for INT and also PICO are also here to answer members' questions. Thank you. A number of members. All right. Let me start with Yao. I will give the floor to you before I open the floor to members. Mr. Yao. Thank you. Chair. Members of the ITB panel, good afternoon. Myself and my colleagues are very pleased to be present today to brief members on the 2021 policy address initiatives and also proposals on government reorganization. Now, we have set out various aspects related to the policy address under my portfolio. I'd like to highlight 4 points. To echo what Mr. Alfred Sid said, Hong Kong's RG development relies heavily on infrastructure, in particular in develop a smart city now for 5G coverage. In the past 2 years, the distribution of spectrum and frequencies have begun to bear fruits. Now, we are among the highest coverage of 5G cities in the world. In the past term, when we reported to the Council, we said that we were confident to increase the coverage expeditiously. In addition to that, the market is developing rapidly. I read from the media today that some service providers have started to promote 5G services to users. While we are fighting the pandemic, now, as I've said on various occasions, many enterprises will have to deal with the social distancing measures, and they rely on e-commerce. And members may recall that in the last term of the council, I thank the council for making available money under the anti-epidemic fund for wider application of 5G. We have over $100 million open for application. It's a matching grant, and everyone can be given subsidy for deploying 5G technology, subject to a cap of $500,000 for each project. Among 150 applications were approved, over 130 covering different sectors: engineering, logistics, transport, performances, property management, etc. So this is an opportunity for upgrading and transformation for many sectors. Now, the policy address did not deploy a lot of passage to RTHK, Radio Television Hong Kong, but then we're now gradually carrying out the review of the RTHK Charter. The RTHK is a public broadcaster. To carry out its functions, it has taken up additional duties and responsibilities in the fight against the pandemic. Since 2 weeks ago, the RTHK has helped in the actual fight against the pandemic, whether we talk about mandatory testing or mandatory restriction and testing. It has deployed manpower for live coverage. Channel 32 is an anti-pandemic channel, and we will have more public education. And whenever there is any restriction and a testing operation, RTHK TV 32 being a public and free channel, members of the public can have access to most up-to-date information on testing requirements, and RTHK will be more than happy to bridge the communication to be a bridge between the government and the public. So that is what extra work RTHK has taken up, and also a real name registration of SIM cards. We're pleased to say that since the enactment of the legislation, we have been moving very smoothly. The system will start, the real name registration program will start on the 1st of March, and by then all SIM cards will require real name registration. We are publicizing the new arrangements. We have asked telecommunications service operators and service providers to step up publicity. We're encouraging people to turn to use real name registration cards. In paragraph 8 of the policy address, now for film censorship. Now, if after the enactment of the national security law, then we have reviewed the film censorship amendment ordinance, and the amendment bill has already been passed, and we will take appropriate action as required. So this is progress since the announcement of the policy address. I'll be happy to take questions from members.
Thank you, Mr. Yao. We have ample time. 15 members have indicated they wish to speak. 4 minutes each, including answers. Before you turn on the video, please let us see your face. The order: Siu Ka Fai, Fok Kai Kwong, Chan Cho Hang, Kun Ho Ming, number 3, and then Chan Cho Han, Michael Tian, Yao Tak Kan. These 6 first, please. Mr. Shiu. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask the CDB concerning the copyright ordinance. We want to establish the IP intellectual property status in Hong Kong. And I must praise RTHK. Under the new director, the RTHK has shown many positive aspects. Many government officials are willing to express opinions on RTHK. I think this is the way the public broadcaster should pass on the messages to the public. And then on the IT Bureau, there are many schemes, and they make us very excited. Now, the intelligent lampposts have been taken down. Are you going to restore them? Mr. Sid first. I thank Mr. Xu for his support. Yes, in the past period, we have taken forward the innovation technology improvement in Hong Kong. For instance, the intelligent lampposts have received the public support during the Black Clad violence. That initiative has been deterred, but the national security law is now in force, so we will take forward quickly all smart city initiatives, including the intelligent lampposts. So that is being implemented. Would that require response be needed on RTHK? Now, intellectual property rights, that was discussed in the Economic Commerce Industry Bureau last week, and policy address paragraph 73 mentions that under the 14th National 5-Year Plan, we have been gaining the status to develop interproperty rights. Now, a lot of work started in 2019. There are now the patents, original patents being approved in Hong Kong. And during the recess of the last term of LegCo and in early this term, we have concluded 3 months of consultation. The copyright ordinance has been updated, including technical updating, and there is increased protection. Now, after consultation period, we hope to let the findings be reported to LegCo as soon as possible. It will certainly be within this term of LegCo that we will move the bill, so the member can be assured. So we have perfected the election system. The filibustering obstacles have been removed. So we want to take forward the intellectual property rights progress as soon as possible. So we adjust our order according to the what's shown on the MON, the Reverend Mr. Kun, Reverend Kun Ho Ming. Chairman, now I think people are concerned about Leave Home Safe. Now, the real name registration, real name system, when will that be okay? And then next month, many shopping malls, etc., will require Leave Home Safe. Now, if you want to enter a restaurant, now you have to press the leave home safe before and after you enter a restaurant, and then you go in the shopping mall. Now, can the leave home safe be used for restaurants within the same shopping mall? I thank Reverend Kuhn for his suggestion. Now, what he said are also the concerns of the IT Bureau. Now, we want to make good use of technology to track pandemic movements. Now, we have 7.5 million downloads of Leave Home Safe. So the risk assessment has been improved. Now, on real name registration, now you may have heard that we are now implemented the vaccination passport system. Now, during the vaccination period, of course, the vaccination is by real name and there is means of contact. So if someone enters a high-risk premises, he has to show his vaccination passport or record, and the premises management has to scan that vaccination record so that his personal details and his time of visit are recorded. Now, if that premises has been frequented by or visited by an infected person, then the government can do the tracking of all those who have been to the premises and who have their Leave Home Safe scanned. So that serves the same purpose as the real name system that Reverend Kuhn referred to. Now, why we adopt the vaccination record system? Now you have to use the QR code. There are over 100,000 premises in Hong Kong that have the QR code. So the QR code person responsible doesn't have to do anything other than download a scanning app, and then the real name registration is available. So that's why it's so effective. Now, many people, for different reasons, they may not have any smartphone, but Leave Home Safe now can make use of a paper vaccination record as well. So over 7 million downloads. Now, if we require every one of them to register the names again, that may take a long time, and that requires cooperation by the persons concerned. So since we already have the vaccination record system with the real name tracking function, then we will use this letter system to implement real name tracking with immediate effect. So we choose the vaccination record or passport system as the means for that purpose. In this way, we can control the pandemic more effectively. So, simply speaking, we use the vaccination record system that can already achieve the tracking purpose. Now, apart from Reverend Kuhn, others have suggested that the Leave Home Safe system should be upgraded for broader use. For instance, how one enters a shopping mall or a restaurant or supermarket they're in, and then when he comes out and he comes to a public area in the shopping mall, and then there's a simple way to confirm that he has gone into the shopping mall and he doesn't have to scan again. Simply speaking, we try to make things convenient for the public. Now, when someone leaves the shopping restaurant, he doesn't have to go to the entrance of the shopping mall and scan again. Now, I allow extra time for the secretary to respond because we know it's quite complex. So even I am not totally clear upon hearing the explanation. So I hope you can explain the health code and the Leave Home Safe system with a hotline where good explanation can be offered. Next, Mr. Fok Hai Kwong. Now, I represent the culture and sports sector. Now, in the past couple of years, the government has mentioned the importance of making commercial use of culture and sports. Now, the Winter Olympics have been broadcast. I watched that too, and say in 2025 there will be Asian Games. The Hong Kong will be the host. So now it's been said that when we talk about purchasing the broadcasting rights, there are limitations to our resources and capacity. So the RTHK has to bear more responsibility. Does it have any scheme on acquiring more manpower and resources for those purposes? Now, many tell me that they hope that there can be a means for publicizing culture and the story of China. Now, the secretary mentioned about the reorganization. The CE said that the three functions, as mentioned by the CE, three functions under the Home Affairs Bureau will be organized and considered together. So what's the progress on that? And now science has, technology has developed quickly. The TV sector has lost some business. Many feel that the broadcasting ordinance is outdated. There are too many restrictions on children's programs and so on. Is there any scope for review? Now, there has been relaxation. Now, there has been relaxations on advertisements, but we hope that the broadcasting ordinance can move forward with the times. There should be more education.
Thank you, Mr. Fok, for your question. The first is on how RTHK can enhance its work in arts, culture, and sports. In fact, the charter covers programs with public interest. May not be most attractive commercial-wise, but is in the public interest. The RTHK will show the responsibility. As for broadcasting by RTHK, we have no intention to take it away from CEDB or from RTHK because culture, tourism, and sports, the first two in particular, have very good interaction. And I think it's advantageous to merge the two. But sometimes the demarcation cannot be too clear. So in the coming reorganization proposal, there is no plan to take out broadcasting. And I think Mr. Falk is very correct in saying that we are now reviewing, doing a midterm review of all licensed broadcasters. So as an interim review in a 10-year licensing period, Mr. Falk refers to removing some of the restrictions. Well, when we reviewed the broadcasting ordinance, we did something of that kind, and we will continue to do so. But we'll have to consider the licensing conditions to see whether these broadcasters have done their part well, and we will also incorporate views from different sectors, and we'll catch up with times. And if there is any operational difficulties, and if it is in compliance with the licensing conditions, we can consider possible measures. When we've completed the midterm review, I'm sure the relevant authorities will make recommendations to the Seeing Council. Director, thank you very much, Mr. Falk, for your question. As said by the Secretary, RTHK is committed to broadcasting sports activities. The Tokyo Olympic Games was an example, and then we also broadcasted the Tokyo Paralympic Games. As a public broadcaster, we should promote inclusiveness and sports. And then there was the All China Games and also All China Games for the disabled. And now there is the Beijing Winter Olympics. Don't forget that in March we still have the Beijing Winter Paralympics. So we'll continue to broadcast world events, including those for people with disabilities. We will not forget local events. Now, the football tournament in Hong Kong has been suspended, but before that, we were broadcasting live on a weekly basis the youth football tournament, hoping that it can promote sports or football among our young people. We've also got Hong Kong Games, and we also broadcasted the Hong Kong fencing event. And for cultural programs, we have also launched new one. Now, on social media, we noticed that the events may not be very popular ones, but then the hit rate was up to $70,000 or $80,000, $80,000, and there is a new series of Under the Line Rock drama, and we'll continue to incorporate different cultural programs into our repertoire. Mr. Teo, thank you, Chair. I have some questions for the coming agenda item, actually, but can I put it to the Secretary now? Now, we think that there will be some rent concession for startups under the AEF. I'm grateful to the Secretary for that. And now I have also got something for item 2. I'd like to know the progress of data safety law, because on the 10th of June, the NPC approved the data security law for implementation in September this year. We understand that data security is of paramount importance. We should do something along this line, and we should be in alignment with the mainland, including cross-boundary data and also the basis. So I'd like to know whether we can include a discussion of data security in our list of outstanding items. We have so many INT issues to be discussed. Can the administration drop and other INT development blueprint, and we should include GBA and also experts from the mainland. We can together work out a blueprint, and this is of utmost importance. So long-term development of INT in Hong Kong, that will include emphasis and how we should support them, etc. So I hope the administration can include this in our list of outstanding items. Now I come to my question. The Secretary referred to the real name registration program. According to the Secretary, it's just an indirect real-time registration program for SIM cards. But then we have the Live Safe app. When we scan the vaccination record of one, will we mistakenly will we be using another one's vaccination record, and will that be a criminal offense? I think this is related to public health, and we should let people know that it is a serious offense to bundle your Live Safe app with someone else's vaccination record. Thank you. Yes, during the pandemic, we should take good care of our startups. We have heard the opinions of legislators, and therefore we have included concessions for startups in the AEF. And so startups can continue to grow during the pandemic. And starting back as in 2017, when the CE announced her first policy address, she already set out 8 main areas and key performance indicators for INT development. And we have been working, we've been following the plan. And in the 14th five-year plan, Hong Kong has been asked to use our strengths to meet the needs of the country, so that while meeting the needs of the country, we can also have our own INT development. We understand our unique strengths, and we should give full play to our advantages. And we should more effectively understand the needs of the country. We have been very proactively liaising with the country. We have regular meeting with most of country, and we have also got the INT park at the loophole. We have at the loop area. We also have a task force to do that. As regards how we can plan better, how we can understand the direction of the country, will continue to discuss with the Ministry of Science and Technology, so that we can tie in with the direction of the country. We should give full play to our advantages. Now we have very strong basic R&D capacity, and so for the country to be a technologically strong nation, we need good R&D. We need good basic R&D. Another one country, two systems will look at the special circumstances and electrical will be very busy in the coming months. It will have to work on different pieces of legislation for the sake of Hong Kong, so I will maintain an open mind. In due course, I can include the issue of data security for discussion. And I think what Mr. Teo mentioned was very important. In our fight against the pandemic, we must all work concertedly. Now, if somebody uses another person's vaccination record for his vaccine pass, this is a serious offense. We will pursue and enforce the law. Thank you. Mr. Chen Cho-hang. Thank you. I have got a few issues. First, textile and garment. I think branding is most important. We have Great Hong Kong, and there is a 14th five-year plan and GB development. I hope there can be more support for the textile and garment industry so that we can develop our potential. And for culture, creative industries, I hope that there can be more promotion of our brands and fashions. And also the proposal to set up an IT and I bureau. I hope Mr. Alfred can give more assistance to our traditional industries, the garment and textile industry in particular, which has a long history of development in Hong Kong. We should go for high value added reindustrialization. I hope this sector can also use INT for further development, because we do have a market in this regard. And yes, I think I understand that there will be a review. Can we use it for a commercial purpose? Because when we streamline the application of funds, etc., we want more efficiency, and I hope that can be done. Yes. Can you help them to move towards high value added development? Thank you very much for your support for e-government. For sure, we will use technology to promote reindustrialization. I think you're very correct. We have traditional industries such as the garment and textile industry, which are still prospering. Now we have a world market. How can we encourage Hong Kong entrepreneurs to come back to Hong Kong? We must use high value added smart production technology. So I agree that we must support our local industries to move towards the high value added and high technology development. We have 5 R&D centers in Hong Kong. We have one for textile and garment. Is exactly to support our traditional industries. It is exactly what Mr. Chen was talking about. This Garment Textile R&D Institute, well, it has contributed a lot in producing face masks for us in green textile and garment manufacturing, I think the center has done a very good job. I look forward to Mr. Chan's continuous support.
Concerning I Am Smart, how do we further promote or assist our industry? I will ask my colleague to elaborate. Now, the I Am Smart has been very welcome. Now, it's been in place for over a year. There are now 1.15 million registrants. Now, we have been studying with the Monetary Authority a corporate version of I Am Smart for electronic certification. We hope that will certify the identity of corporations, and the testing has been completed. Now the OGCIO is continuing to discuss with other stakeholders so that the next stage of work can be started, including confirming the reception by the industry, other feasibility matters, the details of the platform and the governance, and the testing, sandbox testing to ensure the safety or security and privacy and other testing matters, so that a convenient model can be proposed for this corporate version of the I Am Smart, and to complete the consultation on the legal aspects. We will work with the HKMA to take things forward quickly. Now I will seek your comments. Next it will be Mr. Tian. Now, Ms. Yung Hoi Yan would like to speak a bit earlier, but she's not here. Now, would you object to let her speak ahead? But first, Mr. Michael Chen first. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Sid. Now, starting from the 24th of February, people have to use the Leave Home Safe for shopping malls. Yesterday, I tried it myself. It's Sunday. I entered the shopping mall, I entered a restaurant. Now, when I went out, I cleared the Leave Home Safe mark for the restaurant and also the shopping mall. Now, now, if you do it each time, then that would be the neatest. Now, but sometimes people skip it and they're not caught. Now, why is it that you bundle together the record when you leave the restaurant and when you leave the shopping mall? Now, if you cannot achieve that by 24th of February, or will you delay the implementation? Now, people, by that time, they will have to, the people going to the restaurant and the shopping mall would have to go back and spend extra effort. Now, I thank Mr. Tian for being very concerned about the anti-epidemic effort and has tried it out himself. Now, if you scan the QR code of the shopping mall, then there is already a record in your phone. Now, and then when you go to the restaurant, there will also be a record. Now, if you leave the restaurant or the shopping mall and you enter a public place, now we will have a record that you already scanned the QR code of the shopping mall, so people can rest assured. So when you enter a shopping mall, you scan the QR code of the public place. Then when you go to a high-risk place, such as a restaurant, you scan the Leave Home Safe QR code again. So it will be very precise, and the record will be accurate. Now, of course, I hear your comments. Now, we want to be precise in our anti-epidemic work. At the same time, we want to offer more convenience to the public. We do hear the voice of the public. Now, yesterday after I left the restaurant, and then I also do not have a record of leaving the shopping mall, so it cannot be traced. Now, we will have a record of where you went. When you went to the shopping mall, you would have scanned the QR code of the shopping mall and would already be in the Leave Home Safe. In your mobile phone, it shows the Leave Home Safe record, so that will be the data on which our colleagues see that you have fulfilled your responsibility. On Leave Home Safe, there is a record of visits. It has a record of your past visits in the during the previous 30 days. Can I ask a question on the wristband? Can you be quick? Now, earlier, Transport and Housing Bureau exempted the air crews, and then a problem arose. Now, at the time, one could cut loose the wristband. Now, or did someone not wear the record? Now, not wear the wristband. Now, are the current wristbands unable to be cut apart? Now, do you have a sufficient stock of these wristbands if we are going to have stay home safe on a large scale? Now, for stay home safe, we will have enough wristbands for that purpose, and the functions of the wristband will be such that if someone leaves the premises, we would know, and our colleagues would follow up. So we do have enough wristbands, and it will be technically effective. So the aircrew did not wear the wristband. At the time, they were exempted from wearing wristbands. They stay at home and they didn't have to wear wristbands. Now they have to wear wristbands. Okay, thank you. Next, Tang Fei. Now, some of questions are a bit repetitive. Now, you mentioned Leave Home Safe and the vaccination certification, now, or vaccination proof. Now, maybe it can confuse the public. In the future, you have to scan the Leave Home Safe. At the same time, you have to scan the vaccination certificate. Now, would that be too complex for staff of restaurants and shopping malls? So maybe they don't do all that they're supposed to, and they make things difficult for law enforcement officers. When they leave, there may be problems. As Mr. Tian said, would it be better to combine the two? Now, startups are very important. Now, local talents are also as important as importation of talents. Now to have more R&D research organizations in Hong Kong, that would be good. Now would you introduce link or top up venues or ways to link up for local schools. Now, the government supports the reindustrialization, but didn't stress the relationship between reindustrialization and nurture of talents. So I'm concerned that you import talents from abroad rather than nurture them locally. Now, on data security, now many members of the public do not trust Leave Home Safe. There might be political reasons, but the fact is that Hong Kong doesn't have a data security law. So there may be implications for cross-boundary data. So there can be improvement to privacy and data security. So I agree with Mr. Chu that within this year we should try to discuss the legislation of data security, and with that link or connect with the national data security law under one country, two systems. Some of the questions have already been answered. Please respond briefly. Now, on the simultaneous showing of the Leave Home Safe and the vaccination record, we already have a 3.2 version of the Leave Home Safe. So the vaccination record will be shown at the same time when the Leave Home Safe is scanned. Now, how do we take forward I&T development in Hong Kong? We take a two-pronged approach on nurture of local talents as well as importation of talents. We have subventions at all levels, primary, secondary, and tertiary levels of education. We assist our young people to enter the I&T industry. Now, even for persons who work in other industries, we try to assist them so that they can adapt to reindustrialization. Finally, on data security, now the Security Bureau is already working on this, and they will have a holistic review. Next, Ms. Elizabeth Quat. Thank you, Chairman. Now, I'd like to congratulate RTHK on its reforms. It's been successful. In the last term, we expressed the views that there can be improvements, and the Director of Broadcasting has made a contribution. Now, in the interim review of voice broadcasting, we hope that the measures can be extended to cover various private broadcasting institutions. Now, also, members are concerned about the current pandemic situation. Now, smart technology should be able to assist against the pandemic. Now, there should be tracing functions. Now, the Leave Home Safe is now on real name basis, but it can be abused. The same record can be scanned by other people. This is a loophole. Now, the vaccination passport can be a Hong Kong version of the health code. This will be very helpful in the future. Now, the government has almost given up tracking now, but we do need to make use of technology in future tracing efforts. So I hope the IT Bureau can play a role.
Now, the Smart City Blueprint 1.0, 2.0 have been launched for a while. When can we have 3.0? And we all support Hong Kong to be an international INT hub. But what are the actual plans and what are the targets? How can you give us more information on how we can get there? And would there be a wide public consultation, the sector in particular? How we can become an international INT hub? Thank you. First, on Smart City Blueprint 3.0. In 2017, we launched the 1.0 version, and in 2022, we launched or reviewed 1.0 and launched Smart City Blueprint 2.0. That was in end 2020. I think all scheme will need some implementation before we can review it. Come next year, 2023, after version 2.0 has gone through a few years of practice, we can review it. We expect that in 2023 we can have 3.0 version. Under the 14th five-year plan, there is clear support for Hong Kong to become an international INT hub. And then we are working full steam on various fronts to achieve this. In the CS Policy Address 2017, there were 8 directions for promotion of INT development in Hong Kong, and $130 billion have been put into this area, and we're beginning to see results. So we will use what we already have. We should also focus on the country's development in INT so that Hong Kong can be an international INT hub. Together, we can support GBA to be an important INT hub. We will liaise with the Ministry of Science and Technology and liaise very closely with Shenzhen. I hope that by 2024 we'll have the first cluster of buildings completed, and more will be completed in phases until 2027, and they will support INT development. I hope that in the coming few years we can have a framework. We have already established a framework for an international INT hub, and our plan and our focus should be using Hong Kong's strengths to serve the needs of the community. We will work very closely with most to plan properly. In the coming few months, we are going to discuss with most and also the major cities in GBA. In due course, I will report to members our progress. Thank you. Mr. Leung Chun-Fai, thank you. Mr. Lam Jun-Sing. We just heard that the INT Bureau will be renamed IT and I Bureau to highlight the importance attached to industry. Now, over 180 enterprises were interviewed, mainly in food technology, green technology, etc. They were considered new emerging industries with potential. And then the response was there was not sufficient space to build up new production lines, and for the old industrial buildings, the headroom is too low, and there isn't sufficient space for loading and unloading, etc. So how will these inadequacies be addressed? Do we have to wait for Sentin Technopole to be commissioned? And in number 9, we know that there will be social innovation. There under Geron technology, there are over $900 million to support mainly government-run RCHEs, but only very few elders in Hong Kong live in government-funded RCHEs. So I'd like to know whether the fund can be expanded to cover private homes, because I think there is a greater need in private homes. And for aging in place, can our elderly persons use the community vouchers, or even can the CCF allow our elderly persons to enjoy the benefits of technology? Now, if INT Bureau really want to promote technology to benefit our elders, then can the Relevant Bureau expand its work in this regard? Thank you, Mr. Lam. So Mr. Lam's first concern is in the process of development, how Hong Kong can support our enterprises and our industries. And infrastructure is involved. We fully appreciate and heard the concerns of our entrepreneurs. We've been trying to provide more land to support their development. In the policy address, the Sentin Technopole was mentioned. This is land to support reindustrialization in Hong Kong. In fact, this current term of government, with the support of the CE, has already launched new measures. We have an advanced manufacturing center in Zhong Guan O Industrial Estate. It will have an area of 180,000 square meters. So in terms of ceiling height and for anti-absorbent capability and anti-dust capability, we will take care of all these. So the advanced manufacturing center will be very advanced. It has sufficient loading capacity, and there is already a proper design. Our manufacturers need only to move their smart production lines to the center, and all the constraints have been resolved by us. And the advanced manufacturing center at the Zhong Guan O Industrial Estate is very well received by our manufacturers. We will try to identify land for construction of a second advanced manufacturing center. In 2023, we will have the microelectronics center at the Yuen Long Industrial Estate completed. This is the result of our taking on board the views of manufacturers. And as for gerontology, yes, our Labor and Welfare Bureau is mainly responsible for planning and arrangements. Our bureau will give it our full support. I think to serve our elderly, we must use technology. So for sure, we will support the bureau. Mr. Kit Chong, thank you. I thank the secretaries. I think our achievement in INT is obvious. We have had more than 10 unicorns established in Hong Kong, something unseen in the past. I understand that the Productivity Council has got a fund for application of patents. But according to the industry, after they have got patent registration, they may not have enough fund to commercialize or to produce products of patents. So will the administration give us some assistance? And it is mentioned in the paper that IT&T Bureau will be responsible for reindustrialization. Now, the country has the target of achieving zero carbon neutrality by 2025. So how will INT and reindustrialization be merged so that we can have green technology for production, and how we can help to achieve the target of carbon neutrality? Many members mentioned the Leave Home Safe app. My friends, some of my friends have compared our Leave Home Safe app and health code with a similar setup in Singapore, and they found ours a bit more complicated. So please see how you can simplify the operation. Since 2005, we have spent tens of millions of dollars to sponsor local movie production. I'd like to know whether these films have achieved any awards. Now, the recent social incidents or movements have affected the mentality of our young people. So in providing these sponsorship, do we have to reconsider the funding criteria? Thank you, Mr. Ng, for your encouragement. I think Mr. Ng made a very good point. We have an INT fund. We've got 17 different aspects, and this is one of it. And it can help individuals or companies to apply for patent registration. As mentioned by Mr. Ng, apart from patent registration, there needs to be other supporting measures. For instance, how we can help startups to turn their newly developed or their invention into a commercial product. Now, in universities, we have a sponsorship scheme. We've already supported 334 startups and involving a sponsorship of over $200 million to commercialize R&D products from universities. We've also got an INT venture fund so that we can use market forces. The government will provide some support. We encourage other startup funds in the market to support R&D of startups in Hong Kong. The fund has already supported 63 startups. It has affected over $5.6 billion of private investment in startups. We will continue to work hard because our basic R&D capacity is very strong. We are in a position to commercialize our products. And the question is how R&D outcome can be turned to a prototype and then become a commercial product. Well, we need to leverage our market forces and also work with the GBA, because in Shenzhen, Tongkun, and Guangzhou, whether in the production of prototypes or in mass production capacity, they have a very obvious competitive edge. And as for how we can improve the operation of our Leave Home Safe and vaccination record, vaccine pass, and health code, we will take reference from different places, including mainland cities, and then we will improve our own system. Mr. Albert Yao, Mr. Leung Chapman, the PS, can comment on our support for the movie industry. Yes, I think our scheme has been very effective. We have nurtured about 15 new directors, over 20 new producers, and we have got one. We've won over 150 local and international awards, and many. And we have new blood joining the sector. We have enhanced our support to the movie industry in view of the pandemic, and we have supported the production of over 30 movies. We've been able to train personnel for the movie industry, and the movie industry is different from other industries. They have to learn through practice, through production. So I hope we can use this scheme to help to train new blood by the practitioners.
Next, Ms. Lam Lam. You hear me? Yes? I'd like to ask about the electronic side. Now, at other panels, now the e-government, how is it developing on raising efficiency? Can it monitor the quality of services? Now, given the practice in some mainland cities and provinces, they have a system that tells people now where procedures can be simplified so that people can make one visit instead of two. Now, are there tools that can be used? Now, on e-government, now certain government departments in this respect have done well, some lagged behind. Now, is there a timetable for e-government at various departments, or will you have regard to their particular situations? Now, some government departments are still using fax machines. Now, some officials don't have their own email account. Will you set a timeline, say by March of 2023, for certain things to be done? Also, several years ago, as you know, several departments used public funds to come up with certain apps. But afterwards, the apps disappeared or nobody downloaded them. So the effect is near zero. Now, the question is, are the measures effective? We need to know the efficacy. Now, on the Leave Home Safe app, now log in and log out of restaurants and shopping malls. Now, if you have cooperation between government departments and with property management companies, now there's a QR code for the restaurant, and then when you leave, you can scan, so there wouldn't be too much confusion. And on the tracking system of Leave Home Safe, right now, where someone lives, that's not linked to the Leave Home Safe app. So if an elderly person, he just goes downstairs to the restaurant for a meal, and then the government tells them, you are a resident, you have to, of this area, you have to go for a test. Now, someone living in the buildings, they may not be aware and there may be a delay. Now, on whether there's a prompt for the address. Now, as the Secretary said, in future, after the vaccination pass is upgraded, the information would be available. Would that be linked to the residential address? Will that be automatically prompted? Now, or would one have to use some means to find the information? Are you going to allow 2 seconds for the Secretary? As a simple reply, in the middle of 2022, unless there are constraints on legal aspects, otherwise all the license applications can be submitted electronically. So there's a clear timetable. In mid-2022, all government forms for licenses can be submitted electronically unless there are legal reasons. Now, I hope that you all support the government's initiatives. All the R&D is for the assistance of the public. Now, 7.5 million registrations for Leave Home Safe. We have developed some apps. Now, they may not be used as broadly as we hoped, but we hope that LegCo members will support us so that our colleagues can be bold in applying technology. Now, for some new technology, INT technology, now we may not be able to succeed 100%. We have to allow the government and the public and the public officers to scope for the relevant improvement required. Now, of course, if no one uses the app, then of course we have to take the app off the shelf. So please be understanding. On Leave Home Safe, we also try to use technology to solve the scanning problem. Now, for over 80% of the buildings, they have a property management office. They can supply the information, but to further facilitate the public to be notified earlier, we also will adopt the use of technology. So we have 5 more members, so we have to draw the line. Now, I've allowed plenty of time for members to express your questions and comments, but please do not take 4 minutes or more to ask your questions. Mr. Sun Tong. Now, in the document, we see that in the past, the INT development in Hong Kong has been very successful. We are number 1 in Asia in competitiveness, number 2 in the world. Now, I have one question first. Now, on information technology industry. Now, this is mainly project-based in Hong Kong. All the government departments have strong IT sections, so there is then a lot of submission of bids, but there is no product that is now commercialized as a result, so that it can compete within the rest of the world. In the US, they have Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. And in the mainland, they have Alibaba, Tencent, and then small and medium enterprises. Now, they are all very competitive internationally, but Hong Kong is lagging behind. Also, I think Hong Kong is very lacking in IT talent. For those who engage in information technology in Hong Kong, there are very few, and they receive very poor pay compared to the mainland. Now, for Tencent, they pay recent graduates 100,000. That's a lot more than in Hong Kong. Now, fintech is very important. Hong Kong needs a large group of qualified personnel in IT. If we want to be really number one in information technology in Asia and number two in the world, we still have a long way to go. I thank Mr. Sun for his comments. He is very correct. All IT development is based on the manpower. People go to the place where the knowledge can be applied and employed. So we have to attract different industries and companies to be located in Hong Kong. But they also have to see whether there is sufficient manpower support. So this is a chicken and egg problem issue. So we have to work with the Greater Bay Area cities. Now, what we lack in talents, they have plenty of that just over the boundary in the mainland. Now, so it has to be interactive. Now, we can adopt various policies, such as the infrastructure projects and the financial support, so that industries will develop in Hong Kong and our young people can join the industries. It takes time and planning to implement, but we know that we do have to, how we should take forward innovation and technology, and a lot of work is being done. So I hope members will support that. Now, Mr. Shan mentions information technology. Now, the government no longer works on the basis of awarding on a lowest bid basis. Now, a few years ago, we already adopted a new policy. Now, in the past, technological competence is 30 to 40%, and now it's 50 to 70% in assessing of bids. And we will also give points for innovative ideas. Also, we have lowered the experience requirements. That is no longer an essential requirement. Now, even though the startup has never submitted a bid, it can now. Now, for the OGCIO, we have set up an innovation lab in 2019 in April. It has come into being. Now, this will match the needs of different departments and the needs and the capabilities of the startups and SMEs and other enterprises. So we have matched over 60 cases, and we have held over 80 workshops, and some of the proposals are now being implemented or actively being verified. So we try to match the department's needs, and so that these enterprises can participate. Now, on information technology in Hong Kong, we may not have a Tencent in Hong Kong, but we do have a number of apps such as that in support of Lala Move and so on. So these are unicorns that have successfully been listed. Mr. Huden Chow, please.
Thank you. Am I coming through, Chair? Yes? Am I coming through? Thank you. Mr. Sid. Of course, the INT Bureau will be renamed IT and Industry Bureau. I welcome this proposal because we talk about Industry 4.0 or reindustrialization, and there must be smart production. So I'm sure this reorganization will be in line with the development of Industry 4.0. Now, in North SNT, in Yunlong and Tumui, we for sure have planned for the Secretary to consider this new advanced manufacturing center. I'm sure the Secretary has heard this proposal from me a number of times, so it's just an opinion. Recently, because of work from home arrangements to fight the pandemic, or rather a home quarantine, we understand that the risk bank is developed with the help of the INT Bureau. But we understand that many confirmed cases are waiting at home for the Department of Health to arrange for them to be admitted to hospital. They feel rather helpless, and their family members with them sometimes cannot receive the relevant information. I understand that the INT Bureau will help the confirmed cases to put on the wristband, and I think for notifying the close contacts, the Department of Health can help. Can you liaise with the relevant department? You boost manpower to help notification. Can that be expedited? Because people have been waiting for many days, and they have not heard anything. So maybe you really want to help, but they do not receive any notification. Thank you. I thank Mr. Chow for your support. So we know that we are moving towards the right direction, and we will continue to press ahead with your support. I know that Northwest NT is a suitable place for reindustrialization. So we have the first advanced manufacturing center opened in Changquan-o, and the second one will be in Yunlong. It's called the Microelectronics Manufacturing Center. So we will have Sentin Tunnel Park, and in Hongshui Q Lao Foshan, we will have also got an R&D center. We'll see how the North Metropolis and the North SNT can have further industrial development. Yes, we heard your comment. And we are now helping those who are under home quarantine to have the relevant wristband. Now the pandemic is really raging. So together with the Department of Health and the department, we will coordinate. So while after the wristbands are ready, we will try to support other departments. Thank you. I undertake that under the leadership of the Chief Executive can see the problem highlighted by Mr. Holden Chow, and all policy secretaries will do our best, but do understand the challenge we're facing. Our colleagues are working their very best to fight the pandemic. So please give us more support. I'm grateful that in Hong Kong, whether we talk about the civil service or members of the industry, we have done more than our part, and we have an excellent team. Mr. Lo Wai Kwok, thank you. I have got two questions. One is the current, a more pressing issue, and the second is longer is issue for the longer term. Now we are talking about a fight against the pandemic. BPA has community workers receiving these complaints. For instance, some members of the public did the test on the 8th or the 9th, but they have yet to receive the result on the 13th. So we've referred these cases to the secretary, but then of course the authorities are too busy to respond. So I'd like to know whether it's because our laboratories do not have the capacity, or is it that all the testing results are available, but it's just that the information fails to reach the members of the public. And this is happening in many districts of the community. So I think there is room for improvement when it comes to communication among departments. And members of the public have nowhere to turn to for help. Even though they have sought out requests, there's nothing we can do, so they are pretty helpless. I think for those who went on the duty visit in Changjiang River Delta in last term, where 20-odd departments serving the public were in the same complex. So that provides one-stop service for members of the public. Some of them do not have to go to the complex even. They just press a button through an app. So for e-government, we still need to catch up. I know the OGCIO coordinates with government departments, and some departments have got their IT management group. So I'd like to ask whether the ITB and relevant departments I'd like to know how they work with the IT management groups of different departments. So is it an overall plan as what we saw in Hangzhou? They had city highway in Hangzhou. I'd like to know whether in Hong Kong these IT groups are working in a fragmented manner, or is there overall coordination? Perhaps this is something to do with efficiency coordination. Now we have a steering committee chaired by the chief executive. We've also got the efficiency unit to coordinate. Our plan is that in mid-2022, i.e. this year, all government licensing services and government forms can be submitted online, unless that is against certain legislative requirements. For 3,377 or so forms, about 60% of them, or 2,400, can be submitted online. Among the 400 commercial licenses, over 84% of them can receive e-payment. So we are gradually taking forward e-government or e-services. In Hangzhou, they have a complex to serve the public, as said by Dr. Low. The best approach is for people to do it online. They don't have to be physically present in order to achieve their target. For instance, renewal of driving licenses, the whole thing can be done electronically, totally. Now, the fifth wave of Omicron outbreak is very serious. We want early identification. We want more members of the public to be tested for confirmed cases to be identified as soon as possible. Our testing capacity is under great strain. We would together work with other departments to enhance our testing capacity. We've also been promised assistance from the central authorities. If we can increase the testing capacity, then I think things would improve. As more cases are being tested, the time taken to inform members the testing results will be longer. We hope members can help us to soothe members, to soothe the public's agitation, and we will ask different parties, including central authorities, to give us support. Thank you. Ms. Ken, I've only got 2 questions, and the first is data flow in the GBA. Now, to be an international INT hub and to integrate into GBA as required by the 14th five-year plan, I'm sure the sector will understand that data security is important. I'd like to know what the government has done. Now, for instance, it is important that we can guard against fraud. And then we are fighting the pandemic, and vaccine pass and also the Live-Home-Safe app are important. Reverend Kuhn asked a question. Now, the Live-Home-Safe right now does not have a tracking function. And many members saying that because of the geometrical growth in the number of Omicron cases, we must not hesitate to add this tracking function in the app, because it will be much better if we can have an app with tracking function. By means of the vaccine pass, you'll be able to find people who were there at the same time with confirmed cases. So what? If there is no tracking function on the Live-Home-Safe app, we still have to rely on the memory and the integrity of these people concerned in order to trace possible close contacts. And we rely on the shops to keep the device, because if the device is lost, then what can be done? Now, even though you can encrypt the data in the device, there is still a risk. Now, because of Omicron, please do not hesitate anymore. We heard last week there was not a question of technology, and we understand that it is not against our privacy principles, so long as we can tell the public clearly that the collection of personal data is for the fight against the pandemic. There is no privacy concerns.
Now, on the vaccination pass tracking function. Now, the vaccination pass, now when you go to a premise, now you show your pass, your QR code to be scanned. So because when you register your real name and there's a means of contact, so we have a record of you having been to those premises by your real name. If later it's found that someone infected visited that premises, then we can access the information to access you and follow up. This is what Ms. Khan referred to. Now, when we notified someone to go to testing, now if that person doesn't go, the anti-epidemic effort will be delayed. And now we have a means of contact. So as soon as the government finds that there is an infected person in a certain premises, then the government can be able to contact that person. Because it has the information required. Sorry, Mr. Secretary. Now, you have real names of those for that premises. Now, if you find all those people in that residential building, you are not actually tracking them. You just find out whether they've been there at that time. And then where they went, you do not know. Now, if you look at the vaccination pass, yes, that's true, but there is other ways of tracking. For instance, someone who went to the premises, we know his identity, and we find him. We know that person may be a close contact, then we may use technology to find where this close contact went to besides. So through the vaccination pass, we are able to find that person by his real name and his contact, and we know how many people went to the premises, so we can contact them. And then, as Ms. Khan said, these people went to other premises. They may have close contacts, so the risk level for those are raised. So then we can go step by step. So whether it's the real name mode of leave home safe or by other means, now the purpose is to access the person by the real name and means of contact. And also for data mobility in Greater Bay Area, that is on our agenda. For instance, on the hereditary gene issue, now with the support of the mainland government, now we have some educational institutes, branches of Hong Kong counterparts be able to pass that information for study. Mr. Chen? No. Now, the document mentioned the coverage of 5G. Now, that is very good. The coverage is wide. But now the government lets the operator to operate by its commercial mode. For some remote areas, whether the signals are well received, whether there is any signal, or what charges are levied. Now, I've heard varying reports. Some have very poor signals, some are very expensive, and the operator has no satisfactory answer. So people rely on these networks for their daily life. Does the government require the operators to achieve certain standards on the signals and on the level of fees? Because these are essential needs for daily life. Now, data movement is too free in Hong Kong. Now, for some social media, where is the data placed, or where is the server, how is that regulated? So that is a concern. Now, on anti-pandemic efforts, there is a serious problem. If you look at the government websites now for different websites, now recently you may have received apps which showed links that differ between networks. Now, can there be a government app where some simple information is input and then the data is provided? Now, some people who stay at home do not access such information. Now, will there be the apps for those who are in the Stay Home Safe program? Now, also on I Am Smart. Now, I know it's advantageous. Now, I use I Am Smart for renewal of my driving license, but there's a problem. It merely links to the government department concerned. Now, perhaps the IT Bureau consolidate the arrangement so that one doesn't have to link to different departments, because it takes a lot of time hopping in and out of different departments' websites. Now, basically, in our smart city, we hope that the basic 5G coverage can be established first, and I've given some figures. The coverage is now basically achieved. For some remote areas, they don't have broadband, so it may not be used well. So several years ago, we proposed to and we obtained $750 million from LegCo for laying optical fiber networks in remote areas. Now, this infrastructure is now in fairly good shape, and the coverage is quite good. The OGCIO. Mr. Leung, please. As the Secretary said, in 230 villages, we have laid optical fiber networks. This enables villagers to make use of broadband, and now about 29 villages already have optical fiber access, and the service is from 200 meg to 2 gig, and it's only $200 or $300 in fees. So we hope that there will be good optical fiber coverage very soon for all our villages, and this will be part of our 5G network. It's not just broadband. So the optical fiber network helps the villagers. At the same time, the 5G coverage is extended to the rural areas. Follow-up on question, the Secretary, please. Now, in the government, there is unified information dissemination. In the Center for Health Protection, there is a dedicated website on pandemic prevention and control. And there is an interactive map where there is information in picture form. Now, in graphic form. So we hope to provide improved information. Now for I Am Smart, in promoting I Am Smart as a one-stop app, it allows the public to access different services in various departments. Now, in the various departments for security and other reasons, as Mr. Chen said, in some cases, you might have to move in and out of that website. And we are aware of that. We try to simplify as much as possible. So, but in the R&D process or for security considerations, some procedures may not be implemented instantly. So we try to achieve the target. Now this item has been the subject of comments by 16 members. Many are concerned about the app's operation in the pandemic. I've allowed ample time. Originally it's supposed to last till 4:05, but it's now 4:25, so I have to end this item. If you still have other questions, you can contact the secretaries directly. And now we move to item number 4. We come now to the Capital Works Reserve Fund discussion on computerization. So will our technical staff please clear the proposal to speak buttons first. And now we ask the secretary to brief us on the document and how much money you are seeking. It's a proposal from the Innovation and Technology Bureau. Okay, I see. The so most of the questions are about innovation and technology, Mr. Yao. Several members have raised their hand. Elizabeth Quad, Lam Chan Sing, Ma Fong Kwok. And now the IT Bureau colleagues will be seated and they will take us through the document. Thank you, Chairman. Now this is Capital Works Reserve Fund 710 computerization. It's used for working with the administrative system. There are two main categories. So each project over $20 million, those are the major projects. And then for projects over 200,000 but under 20 million, that will be individual projects. And now every month we apply to the Finance Committee for funding for Head 710, computerization, the block allocation. This allows departments to implement projects of over 200,000 but under 20 million. Now, in the 2022 to 23 financial year, we propose that total funding will be $1.51 billion. There will be 200 plus new projects, and the total funds will be used for various bureaus and departments. Now, this will be under the estimate by the OGCIO based on the cash flow in the coming financial year. Now, this will allow smaller scale information technology work to be implemented so that there can be greater efficiency in the operations, and so that the Finance Committee can focus on projects on of a larger scale. Now, given the trend of digitization, the various bureaus and departments have greater needs for IT projects. So in 2022 to 23 overall, the budget allocation has increased by $210 million, and 16% increase. So the various bureaus and departments can raise the efficiency of government service so that the public can be provided more convenient service, and the smart city can be further taken forward. The bureaus and departments will be able to update their technological equipment and make use of cloud and the big data to raise efficiency. On information security, bureaus and departments will adopt effective measures to achieve data safety and to make proper audits and assessments so as to avoid attacks from hackers and so on. I will be glad to offer further explanation. I hope members will support the overall proposal.
All right, Ms. Elizabeth Quat. Thank you, Chairman. This is actually a recurrent item. I noticed that the provision is 16.2% this year, higher than the last. Of course, I want the budget to be bigger so that all government departments can make good use of technology to provide better services to the public. But the pandemic has shown that the government has not used smart technology for work such as contact tracing, communication with the public, and we have seen management problems at Penny's Bay Quarantine Center. So can you explain to the public why the provision is 16.2% higher than the previous year? And how can you promote the use of technology by the public? Now, because our resources have been spent, but our services are still backward. So can you please explain how come the budget is higher for this year? Now, first, the impact of the pandemic on technology. As said by the Secretary, now, in terms of digital competitiveness, we are among the top in the world. We are the highest in Asia and the second in the world. The use of technology, number one in the world. In the recent 26th Asia Pacific Technology Award, a major award in the Asia Pacific region, Hong Kong was quite outstanding in its performance. Now, we have a won a major award in the use of digital technology for the fight against the pandemic. As a result, many bureaus and departments have seen how technology has helped their day-to-day operation, and that's the reason why they have been very enthusiastic in proposing new projects using technology, and therefore the demand is 16.2% higher than the previous year. Of course, the OGCIO will do our utmost to help them to embark on their project as soon as possible. If need be, we can help them to take forward their projects. For instance, in the fight against the pandemic, we are proactively cooperating with a lot of departments, including the Department of Health, to further our fight against the pandemic. And for new projects, we will cooperate with departments. And we have colleagues from the OGCIO in departments to promote the development of technology. I'd like to follow up. In the previous item, members mentioned the I Am Smart services platform. We have been pushing the use of I Am Smart in this council, and we want everyone to use it. But you have yet to achieve territory-wide acceptance, and not all government departments are using I Am Smart because once you have use it by means of the platform, everyone will be dealing with the government real name, and then people can also have access to a number of services. And in future, for instance, if you change your address, you need only to do it once, and all departments will be notified. So how are you going to promote the use of one-stop personalized digital services platform I Am Smart? Thank you. As at end January, about 180 government departments and public bodies are using I Am Smart that cover the public services as well as some private sector services. I agree with Ms. Quat. We should further promote the use of I Am Smart. That is part of our objectives. We will continue to do that so that for services that require personalized services, they can use I Am Smart, because I Am Smart can produce linked services. Different departments may be linked. For instance, change of address. It is a linked service. Will promote different departments to make good use of linked services and use I Am Smart to provide more user-friendly services. Can you tell us, given that there are so many government departments, when can we have a really one-stop personalized digital services so that you can cut manpower? Can you give us a specific date? We expect that by end 2023, I Am Smart can link up all public services. We are now urging different government departments to launch services through I Am Smart. So what is the current amount of users? About 1.15 million members of the public are registered with I Am Smart. And whether people registered to use I Am Smart will depend on whether they find it necessary and useful. So when we have enough public and private services available on I Am Smart, there will be more users. Now, we're able to achieve 1.15 million within a year. That is already the best in the world. About 50% of our population already using I Am Smart, but we will not be complacent. We will promote for higher usage. Understand that when people go for vaccination, there is a counter to help people to get registered. It's rather complicated for people to do it themselves. Now, with more people doing the vaccines, you should deploy more manpower to help people to register. that will make us more convenient. Yes, we will continue to promote the use of I'm Smart. Thank you very much, Ms. Quat, for your suggestion. Perhaps you can share with the Financial Secretary. Next time when the FS hand out cash, it can be done through I'm Smart. Then I'm sure people will rush to get registered. There may be an oversubscription. You may reach 7.5 million very soon. Mr. Lam Chan Sing, thank you for your question. The paper says that many government departments will improve their government technology services. Now, with work from home arrangement for the civil service, I'd like to know what digital support are you offering to civil servants, and to ensure that there will be no reduction in services to the public as far as possible. And the paper says that 20% of the budget will be for employing contract staff. Digital infrastructure is most important to the government. Perhaps the jobs should not be done by contract staff, instead by permanent staff, to ensure continuity and stability. 3 questions. Have you got them clearly? I do, thank you. Well, the funding covers many aspects. Departments can use the money to upgrade their office facilities or replace some older facilities. As regards whether digital resources can be used remotely because of the work from home arrangement, many colleagues are asking for facilities to make it possible for them to work remotely. So we are providing various types of support to ensure that civil servants can continue to do their work even at home. While we have employed quite a lot of contract staff, the purpose is to allow our bureaus and departments to satisfy manpower demands in a flexible manner. And then we can also have access to more state-of-the-art professional knowledge. If some of the duties are regular ones, then we will deploy permanent staff. It's not that with more contract staff we will have less civil service colleagues. Rather, we want these contract staff can help our civil service to cope with ever-increasing demand. In particular, during the pandemic, we have additional manpower demand in many aspects. Any follow-up? No, then Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. Please unmute. Thank you. Now, we want to put the pandemic under control, and we are using new technology in the process. In Annex B of the paper, I do not see any provision for this aspect, or rather, Annex C. I'd like to know whether expenses in this area have been absorbed elsewhere in the fight against the pandemic, or have they been included in the operation of the contract staff? Secondly, many colleagues have mentioned that in our fight against the pandemic, a very important target is to resume normal travel between Hong Kong and the mainland. One of the obstacles to this end is the health codes of the two places cannot interface. So I'd like to know, what have you done in terms of hardware and software? Have you done sufficient testing to ensure that the two can interface and that there can be smooth implementation? Of course, whether we can do it is an important decision on the part of our government. And when it comes to interface of data between the two places, what measures are there to ensure confidentiality and that personal data can be duly protected and taken care of? 3 questions. Thank you.
多謝馬議員。
Now, our funding request is for 22 to 23 expenses. Now, the anti-epidemic requirements are very urgent. Now, in the past year, we make use of the Capital Works Reserve funding to deal with quite a lot of anti-epidemic expenses. Now, because these are urgent expenses, some other expenditures may have been delayed as a result. Now, even though there is no anti-epidemic work mentioned in our projects in the document, yet all along many projects have been raised and approved and then taken forward. Now, some such work is not just about computerization, so they are funded in other ways. Now, as for the travel between Hong Kong and the mainland, the health code testing has been completed. We have been working with the mainland as experts and the health mainland health department concerned. Now, concerning the health code, the mutual the connect, we have been talking with the mainland officials. So in October last year, we introduced the Hong Kong health code system so that the public can try that out. As of yesterday, 840,000 have registered. Over 640,000 have been activated. The process has been smooth. Some have downloaded the green code and they have tried out the switching of the code and so on. Now, last year when we introduced the the processes for returning to Hong Kong and coming to Hong Kong, now the data in the health code has been will be transferred into a data platform in Hong Kong. So when we introduce the Hong Kong health code system, when we upload the data to the province health code system, it is already facilitated, and in early this year we have completed large-scale testing, and at certain boundary crossing points the testing has been carried out, and I took part in it myself. So the going through the crossing point is not a problem. So we hope that the announcement of this facilitation can be announced in good time. Now, on the travel between the country, between across boundaries and on data security. Now, these are very important, especially on data security. Now, on the health code exchange, blockchain technology is adopted to ensure data security. Ms. Can Wayman? I was going to say that through the registration of I Am Smart, and if you offer consumption vouchers, then you can raise the popularity of the I Am Smart. Now you have over 100 government services, basically. Now now actually the coverage is not that large. It's basically just used for tax purpose and for license applications. Now you come to LegCo to apply for the funding. Now you hope to win the public support. Now when you apply for funding, now how much is used for paying the contractor to whom you outsource the item? Now, because in the regulation of contractors in item 05, there have been cases where the problems arising out of service by contractors. So what has the government done in this regard? Now, this is a meeting on the budget. Now, because you have to manage the contractors, because also many people have to work at home, so the government has to step up its efforts. Now there is a rather low capability for remote control on civil servants working at home, and you have to manage the risk. So if necessary, the government can propose a budget for civil servants to work at home. And also when the public go to the Greater Bay Area, and if you have e-government enabling people to work from home there, that is also would also be very helpful. We thank Ms. Can. Now, 180 government services have been enabled for the I Am Smart. Now, by 2023, we hope that the number can rise to 1,220, and I'm sure it will be many more, because many departments are introducing new services for I Am Smart. Now, about 85% of government projects are outsourced. This doesn't mean that everything is left to the contractor. Rather, some government personnel, especially those from the OGCIO and OGCIO officers assigned to other departments, help to monitor the quality of the contractors, especially regard to security. Now, sometimes on system security, we have to rely on contractors to help us check the security of the system, especially for security audit. Now, there's also privacy audit. So these enable the government to gain trust from the public that the security is at the highest level. For working at home, I agree with Ms. Can. In the past year or two, the government and the various departments have adopted different procedures and facilities for working at home, working from home. Now, when we introduce the working from home, the security is a concern. So along the way, we attend to that risk, and we adopt ever stronger measures so that civil servants can work from home. Ms. Khan, anything to follow up? If not, I will ask my questions. I've left my questions to the end. I will add 15 minutes to that. I'd like to ask the OGCIO. Now, the mainland has the Guangdong Health Code, and we have the Hong Kong Health Code. When we cross boundary, we have to change the code, switch the code. When we we have to adopt the relevant app, or else we have a problem returning to Hong Kong. Now, what is the difference between the Guangdong Health Code and the Hong Kong Health Code? Maybe it's about privacy, which the Hong Kong people are concerned about. Now, maybe the Guangdong Health Code can be the only code used, and so maybe we can apply for the Guangdong Health Code to be extended to Hong Kong, so that Hong Kong persons who are interested in adopting the Guangdong Health Code, they can just use the Guangdong Health Code alone, and it will also cover Hong Kong. So what are the differences between the two, apart from technology-wise? Now, if the mainland health code can be adopted or accepted by Hong Kong government departments, if the technology is not a problem, what is the problem, if any, on this common use? Now, for Guangdong Health Code or Hong Kong Health Code or Health Code of other places, now the important issue is the interchange of data. Now, in mainland municipalities, they have different health codes for different cities. Now, the central government is trying to achieve a mutual connect between all the health codes. So that depends on the mutual connect between of data. So we stress this interchange of data. If that can be achieved, then even though we call it the Hong Kong Health Code, actually it's the same health code. So different provinces and municipalities can make use of the same health code for Hong Kong people to go there. Now, for Hong Kong people, of course, we use the Hong Kong Health Code because that serves some Hong Kong needs. For instance, the vaccination records. Now, that's handled on a platform, and also our testing records is also stored at the Department of Health. Now, when these records are put into the health code, then it can be they can be connect with the mainland health code. Now, so if someone was vaccinated in the mainland, the data has to be transmitted to Hong Kong for the mutual connect. So, so for the public, it doesn't make much difference in how they in the level of in fact, it's more convenient. Now, the Department of Health in the mainland has tried to facilitate Hong Kong people. It has set a standard or a system so that we can switch to the Guangdong Health Code, and then Hong Kong people can use that code for different provinces and municipalities. So this is in line with what the chairman is thinking. So we just use one health code, and then Hong Kong people can travel between provinces and cities on the mainland. So if someone holds Guangdong Health Code, can they just use that code in Hong Kong instead of Hong Kong Health Code? Now, where our main concern is the interchange of data. So when you have this mutual connect of data, whatever you call it, then someone with a Guangdong Health Code coming to Hong Kong, will that be valid? So that depends on protection or data security when data is exchanged. So both in the mainland and here, we are very concerned about ensuring that. Now, we understand about data protection.
Now, you're not asking any Tom, Dick, and Harry to keep the data. The data will be held by the government. So we assume that data security is not a problem. The data will not be kept by parties other than the government. So whether you're talking about the Yue Kang Code or the Hong Kong Health Code, now, for Hong Kong people to go to the mainland, then the code can be converted to Yue Kang Code, and that is acceptable in different provinces of the mainland. Now, for mainlanders to come to Hong Kong, can they just use the Guangdong or Yue Kang code? And is the code acceptable in Hong Kong? Because there is already data converted, and data security is not a problem. You just call it the Yue Kang code. So I'd like to know whether this is possible. Is it technically feasible? Technically, it can be done, but then we have to understand that different provinces. No. Now, for Hong Kong people in the mainland, they use Yue Kang code. And what about mainlanders in Hong Kong? Can they just use the Yue Kang code for access to different places? The answer is yes, but in my opinion, that is not very desirable. Why? So, all right. If someone uses Yue Kang code in the mainland and come back and continue to use it. Now, some of our information is kept by the Guangdong province. For instance, vaccination record. We rely on the code conversion function for the data to come back to Hong Kong. So the information can then come back to the Department of Health's database. And using that database, we can do a lot of things. For instance, the vaccine pass. With the code conversion, we can use the health pass. Now, even if you receive the jabs in the mainland, the data can still be recognized here. So we're not talking about a single database for the whole country. Individual municipalities and provinces have their own databases. All right, I will discuss with you later. So we are very enthusiastic in asking questions. I'd like to ask members whether you have any problem with the funding application. Perhaps our staff can turn the Zoom function to the gallery view. I'd like to ask members whether they support the paper. Now, if there is no objection, I'll assume that everyone is happy with this paper. So we will agree that this funding application be submitted to the Finance Committee. Any other AOB items? No? Then I thank you very much. Members and have had a very good discussion with the administration. The meeting ends here. Thank you very much.